Hi, so I wanted to make a quick video about the drama triangle, the empowerment triangle, and the mystical triangle. Just wanted to do a quick intro where I shared my references before I start. So the drama triangle was created by Stephen Karpman. The empowerment triangle was made as an expression of a kind of growth path out of the drama triangle into something more wholehearted and wholesome. And it was created by David Wormeldorf. And then I've created another layer, which is the mystical triangle. And that's a kind of expression of what happens when we come out into non-self energy. So yeah, it's these different roles that people take on when they're in these paradigms, in these ways of being, the ways that they relate to people, they relate to the world, they relate to themselves, and it creates this whole kind of almost complete world model. And yeah, what each one looks like, how it can be progressed. I just wanted to do a very sort of quick overview of that model, and as well as the other two triangles I reference, I also talk about internal family systems as a model. So internal family systems therapy, there's lots of books out there. It's also a modality where you can go and have therapy in this way. But it describes the kind of difference between being in parts and being in a sort of reactive place, and being in self-energy and being in this sort of open, wholehearted place. And then, yeah, finally, the last thing I wanted to share is that I use the word currency when I'm describing each of the paradigms. So it's like, what's the currency that is in that mode? And yeah, currency, it's a bit like money in the sense it's sort of like what are the sort of resources that people are kind of looking to gain. And yeah, that has been in part inspired by Erica Summers-Effler's work on emotional energy, what she calls emotional energy. So the rest of the video will be me showing diagrams and talking through them, and yeah, hope you enjoy. So I'm going to go through the drama triangle, the empowerment triangle, and the mystical triangle. I'm not going to spend a long time going through the roles in each one because there's quite a lot of content out on the internet about that, so if you're interested, you can go and find that. The bit that I'm particularly interested in is the fact that each triangle creates a worldview that seems complete to the person who's within that, and they essentially project that out onto everyone else. And yeah, the disruption that causes, and also the different modes of being that creates. And I just thought it would be illuminating to share some of that and show what I see from that perspective. And so we'll start with the drama triangle, and the three roles within the drama triangle are the hero, which is it's a kind of poor you sort of attitude, a very kind of codependent helper. Victim, which is poor me, so someone who's always looking for suffering and problems. And perpetrator, you're wrong, so that can be directed in to themselves or out to others, but it's more of a kind of blaming, conquering, control role, and that can also be quite passive aggressive as well as aggressive. And the worldview that is created or lived through in the drama triangle comes from a small self, so a kind of ego self energy. And essentially it's very much person-centered. So yeah, the person who's in the drama triangle is in the middle of everything, and they're very set that their way of looking is the correct way of looking. They're not very good at taking in that there might be different perspectives. They tend to, when you interact with them, they will give you sort of one of these roles as almost kind of like it feels a bit like putting on a mask that they give you, and you can only be this person. You don't sort of exist beyond the role that they cast you in. And yeah, the currency or the sort of life force that runs through the drama triangle is control and attention. So essentially each of these roles is different ways of getting attention from people and also controlling the narrative. And the reason that it's control and attention is because there's so much fear. that exists in when you're in the drama triangle place. So this is a very sort of sympathetic nervous system activation place. It's very fight or flight. Everything's a threat. People are a threat. And if you're not the person in control, then someone else is in control, and that's threatening. Yeah, so that's the drama triangle. So then there's a way of progressing out of the drama triangle and into the empowerment triangle. To me, one of the best ways to understand this is that the empowerment triangle is more like self-energy, capital S, self-energy. So, one way of describing this might be that the drama triangle is really when people are in internal family system speak, being run by their parts. So you have your managers and your firefighters and your exiles in here, and they're sort of running the show. And coming into the empowerment triangle is more like stepping into self-energy. So it's much more open-hearted, much more space to be present, to connect with others. So the 8 C's of self-energy are calm, compassion, curiosity, clarity, confidence, courage, creativity, connection. I've also just noticed that all the roles in here are also C roles, 3 C's. So we have the 11 C's. But the roles in here is the coach. So what's wanted is the quote I've put there, and it's being supportive, but from an independent place. So rather than fostering dependency, you're just there as a kind of supportive presence, asking questions, doing those, providing, calm, compassion, curiosity, those sort of more C words. The victim, rather than the victim, it matures into the creator. So there may still be problems and issues and challenges, but rather than sort of wallowing in them, it's like a what's possible mode. What can we do here? Yeah, and there's a bit of a comfort. There's like a comfort in the unknown where that sense of sort of immediate threat has diminished a bit. And then finally, rather than the perpetrator, you have the challenger. So the quote I've put here is what's being missed. So it's someone who can still bring in a kind of healthy sense of tapping healthy anger or constructive criticism or pointing out what's being missed, but it's from a place of opportunities for growth rather than criticism. Yeah, when people are in self-energy or in the empowerment triangle, it's much more open, spacious. Essentially, people are seen as collaborators, and you can kind of meet in a way where you're sort of centering what's here, what's possible. Yeah, the currency is kind of power and also positive impact. So it's almost like what can be changed to make things better, to make things flow more freely. And I think a really key indicator of whether someone's in the drama triangle or the empowerment triangle is in the empowerment triangle, people can sort of look at the whole and they can take in the sense of, oh, actually it's better for me to step back in this situation and to give this power to this other person. It has this much more collaborative, sort of selfless way of being. Okay, so now we have the mystical triangle. And once again, the 3 roles, capacity, receptivity, transmission, they're a direct maturation. So you go from hero to coach to capacity, victim to creator to receptivity, perpetrator, challenger, transmission. And if the drama triangle is small self and empowerment triangle is capital S self, then the mystical triangle is non-self. And the first one is a capacity. So it's really like, what's the depth that someone has to really be able to stay present and welcome all of experience. And my example for this is the first time I did a shadow work retreat, and the women who were facilitating my process, there was just a sense of I can really feel that this person has done their stuff. They're able to really hold me, and I can actually show up and bring some things I often kind of hide or have to manage myself. because the people that I'm with can't hold them. And actually the container, the person, the whole thing has been set up really to welcome the fullness of experience. And also part of capacity is this sort of intuitive or sometimes conceptual but kind of navigational skills. So not only the capacity to be present, but also a capacity to discern and navigate how to hold things when they emerge. So that's capacity. So the next one is receptivity. And this is really about a kind of clear seeing. So they're almost like different energetic postures, where capacity is more sort of offering yourself to the whole and being able to be present. And receptivity, it's a bit more of a sort of leaned back, where things are allowed to just kind of flow in, and you've done your work, so you've done your purification, you've done your meditation, and rather than just seeing a bunch of projections, you're a kind of open vessel for the world to come in, which you can then see clearly. Okay, so the third role is transmission, and I've summarised that as truth before words. So one aspect of this is like, it's just like the way of being and the way things are before any words, descriptions, concepts, ideas, manipulation, management, desires for things to be better comes in. It's just sort of, the truth that's already there that gets communicated through these subtle layers of resonance and things like that. A more active version of it is sort of speaking and allowing the truth to come straight from the heart without needing to change what's present. So that's transmission. And then when we take in the mystical triangle as a whole, what the currency or the compass is, the way that life force expresses itself is experienced for people who are in the mystical triangle is truth and naturalness. So it's really, all of these capacity, receptivity, transmission, it's allowing things to be as they are without any kind of manipulation or anything in between you and it. And I think one of the things that often gets missed and is really important in that is that includes dark and challenging stuff. Okay, so now we're back here with all three of the triangles. And there was just a couple more things that I wanted to describe. So one is that, I think I mentioned this at the start, but essentially whichever triangle people are in, they have a real trouble seeing outside of that triangle. It's a real narrowing of perspective. And people tend to project their intentions, their currencies, their compasses onto others. So, for example, in the drama triangle, where people are really focused on control, attention, status, they tend to see these other people as also looking for control, attention, status. They can't sort of feel the substance that lives underneath that or see that. So equally in the empowerment triangle, the sense of sort of positive impact being the currency is projected out onto these people, where it's like, of course, the more mystical things, the better it gets. The more we pull together, the better things get. The better is the general. The more productive, the more meaningful, the more nice everything feels. That's a very kind of empowerment triangle self-energy mode of being. And then finally, the mystical triangle has an orientation around truth and naturalness, and it can be very easy to sort of get into the mode where you just think everyone, why wouldn't someone want more truth and more naturalness? And it's kind of maybe easy to lose touch of the things that the people in here are oriented towards and struggling for, that sometimes truth can disrupt that too much, basically. Okay, so I just wanted to do one last recap through each of the triangles with the information just laid out a bit more clearly here. So we'll start with the drama triangle, and the drama triangle is, it's an expression of people when they're in small self energy. So often a lot of fear comes from a place of fear, lots of sympathetic nervous system activation. This image, I love this image. It's sort of like that kind of like narrowing of attention on the individual, on the self. It really feels like a bit what it's like being in the drama triangle. And the compass that this person is using when they're in the drama triangle is around control. So it's sort of like the compass is kind of like how they navigate, like what's being tracked, what's their strategies. They're either orienting towards control or tracking who has control or strategizing. They're sort of navigating around the sense of control. And the currency, so by currency it's sort of like how much currency you have is sort of how much life force, how much success you feel you have, is based in attention or status. So the more attention, the more status that you're getting, the more currency you have, the more success you feel, the more sort of like, you feel you're doing well, to put it that way. So that's in the drama triangle. Then when we look at the empowerment triangle, so again, this is coming from self, capital S, self energy. And the image here, it's sort of like a bit of a kind of busy utopian society sort of feel, working together to save and improve the world. The compass is positive impact. How is what we're doing over a stretch of time creating a positive impact for ourselves, for others, for the world. Very, very open-hearted and wholesome. And the currency is power. So to distinguish it, it's not like power over domination necessarily, but it's the sense of, we have agency to do the things we want to do and influence things and positively impact and make change and grow and become better over time. And then finally we have the mystical triangle, so that's non-self energy. The image here is looking back at the earth from the moon, so it's just it's sort of like the wholeness of the expression of being that's flowing through the universe as a kind of impersonal force. And the compass here is naturalness, so what allows that flow to be recognized, to be felt, to flow most naturally. And the currency here is truth, because the more truth that's present, the more that naturalness can be recognized, seen, flow more fully. It feels good to be in that truth and naturalness together. There's a kind of, that's the feeling of success is the ability to be with the truth there. So that's the three from that perspective, and I think I'll wrap up there. So I hope this has been helpful, and see you again soon. Bye.